This is Radio Health Journal. I'm Nancy Benson. This week, becoming a first-time father in your 40s or 50s.
I often get mistaken when I'm with my kids at a supermarket as their grandfather. They'll say it explicitly. How are your grandkids today?
What it's like being an old dad to young kids when Radio Health Journal returns.
I'm Reed Pence, the producer and host of Radio Health Journal. If you like listening to Radio Health Journal, you'll also like our sister show, Viewpoints, which covers a wide array of topics from education to history to the environment. Here's a preview of what they're covering this week on Viewpoints.
Top Dog Foundation is setting a whole new example on how to treat senior dogs, how to value senior life.
One organization's efforts to save older dogs and help pet owners plan ahead. Then,
I would hope he would still be alive, you know.
What happens when the bully you wished would go away actually did? I'm Marty Peterson.
and I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
Listen to Radio Health Journal and Viewpoints on your favorite radio station, and subscribe and listen anytime on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Radio Health Journal.
More women than ever before are becoming pregnant in their 40s. Much beyond that age, there's a biological limit for bearing children. Men, however, can become biological fathers at just about any age. In 1972, the average age of first-time dads was 27 and a half. Today, the average age is 31. And the number of men in their 40s and 50s choosing to become biological fathers has almost doubled since the 1970s. Research shows that the risk of birth defects increases only slightly when the father's age. But what are the social consequences of being an old dad to young children?
We almost split up before we got married over the children issue. She wanted children very much. I very much did not. So we nearly split up, but we got together for 6 hours in a restaurant. She told me the stories of her life, a tough childhood. And she wanted a happy, normal family life. And I told her my stories. An alcoholic father, a house full of tension. And I realized that I wanted what she wanted. It was through the stories, really, not through a pro and con discussion, but just telling each other the stories of our lives. I realized she would be a great mother. She realized I had at least the potential to be a good father.
That's Tim O'Brien, National Book Award-winning novelist and author of the memoir, Dad's Maybe Book. O'Brien was 56 years old when his first son, Timmy, was born, and 58 when his second son, Tad, arrived. He worried that his crusty old chromosomes, as he puts it, had caused severe damage to Timmy.
As it turned out, the boys were healthy and they seemed to be happy kids. But we did fear it, especially during that horrible bout with acid reflux for the first 7 weeks of Timmy's life when he would scream nonstop. It wasn't even crying. It was hissing. He was in pain as an infant, but he couldn't talk, so he couldn't tell us that it hurt or where it hurt or even that it did hurt. So we felt, as rookie parents, kind of greenhorns at it, that we were somehow responsible for this. And it wasn't until Meredith began weeping uncontrollably that we finally ended up in an emergency room that was diagnosed. And that night, there was no more problem.
With concerns about old chromosomes put to rest, O'Brien started to worry about something else, that he might not live to see his boys grow up, or at the very least, that he would miss major milestones in his boys' lives.
When I had these children, I realized that when they began to know me, they'd know an old man. And that's what happened. It's caused crying. The boys were young. Both of them came to me crying. They couldn't sleep. They both said, "You're going to die before you should." And I didn't lie. I said, "Yeah, I know. Let's put our time into what we do have and our energy into it, and our love into it." They're still conscious of my deafness and my gray hair and my wrinkles. But I'm able, on the other hand, to play basketball still. I can still be a dad.
Still, because of his old age, O'Brien is 73 now. He's faced awkward social encounters as well.
I often get mistaken when I'm with my kids at a supermarket as their grandfather. And they'll say it explicitly. How are your grandkids today? And I'll have to either correct them, which is awkward, or just swallow it and take it, which I usually do.
But O'Brien says being an old dad to young kids also has some advantages. He has no doubt that his life experiences have made him far wiser than the much younger dads around him.
For me, just as an old father, I'm more patient than I would have been. I can take the homework and getting the kids to go to bed and all the things that attend being a father. I can do it in a way that I don't think I could have done as a younger father. And I've had other parents say that to me and say, man, how do you... I gave up writing for 10 years. I just stopped in order to be a present father. I doubt I would have done that at 28 or 38 or 48.
O'Brien made the choice to be present for his boys in a way that young fathers pursuing career advancement may not have the luxury to do. He makes sure to tell his boys on a regular basis, I love you, and gets the same affection in return. O'Brien shares the story of when his son Timmy didn't make the cut for the high school freshman basketball team. Timmy suffered big time, staying hidden behind his closed bedroom door for days.
He came out of his room, and even at 6 feet 1 inch, he cuddled up to me. I'm a little guy, so you get this big teenager cuddling up to you. And he said, Dad, it probably wasn't good enough. And I said, probably not. And he said, but Dad, I love you so much. And those words coming out of the tight-lipped teenage Blue are just so much more important than putting a big orange ball in a hole, as any parent would feel. Teenagers, at least mine, are retreating from words like that and from conspicuous displays of love. But out of the catastrophe came what seemed to me a kind of miracle that made me feel good about the world and about Timmy, but also about myself.
You may have noticed that O'Brien tells it like it is. He says he's always been honest with his boys, even when they ask about his experiences as a combat soldier in Vietnam. He shares with them how terrified he was when he got wounded by a hand grenade, and about how ugly war really is.
And it might make them a little less bellicose in their rhetoric, a little more thoughtful about finding other ways besides killing people to achieve your ends in the world.
In his early 70s, O'Brien wonders how many more days there can be for him. They're the same thoughts he frequently had as a soldier in Vietnam, working in heavily mined areas where 90% of casualties came from mines.
Every step was contingent. Maybe I'll be alive, maybe. And I feel that way again and as an older man, that tomorrow is a maybe, and the next day is a maybe. And I think it's true for all of us in the end, and we're all writing these maybe books full of maybe tomorrows until the last sentence gets its period. So we do everything, of course, we can to press the thought away. Watch television and go to cocktail parties and bridge tournaments and whatever we do. But it's there. We're human beings, and that's unlike the chipmunks. We're aware of it. And that's a gift. And I treat it that way. I don't look at it in a realistic sort of way. And I'm doing through this book and through living with my boys everything I can to make use of that compressed time that's left.
O'Brien is on the road now, on yet another tour of duty. But thankfully, this time it's to promote his book. Still, he can't wait to get home to his boys.
I hug them on the phone every night. I call and I do it verbally. I say, I'm giving you a hug now or a kiss. And it's tough being away from them, and I'm so looking forward to getting back.
Dad's Maybe book by Tim O'Brien is available now. You can learn more about all our guests by visiting our website at radiohealthjournal.org. Our writer-producer for this segment is Polly Hansen. Studio production by Jason Dickey. I'm Nancy Benson.
Radio Health Journal returns in just a moment.
Holiday celebrations are often joyous occasions, but they can be challenging for the millions of people living with Alzheimer's disease and those who care for them. The hustle and bustle of the holidays can be stressful for those with Alzheimer's, and changes in the daily routine, large gatherings, and noisy environments can create extra anxiety. Monica Marino, Senior Director of Care and Support at the Alzheimer's Association, has some tips to make the holidays enjoyable.
First, plan ahead. Prepare the host for special needs, such as a quiet room for the person to rest. If you're hosting, let guests know what to expect before they arrive. Since crosstalk and multiple conversations can be challenging for people living with Alzheimer's, try engaging the person one-on-one or in smaller groups and keep them involved in the celebrations.
Marina also suggests experimenting with new traditions. For example, if evening confusion and agitation are a problem, turn your holiday dinner into a holiday lunch or brunch. Find out more tips at alz.org.
According to the American Cancer Society, prostate cancer is one of the leading causes of cancer deaths in American men. That's why, for men with prostate cancer at risk of progressing, monitoring for signs of progression is critical.
I'm Dr. Chris Pazanka, a urologist at Associated Medical Professionals in New York who has been paid by Janssen Biotech as a spokesperson. Men with prostate cancer, whose disease progresses after treatments like surgery or radiation, may receive hormone treatment to lower testosterone called androgen deprivation therapy, or ADT. However, for certain men, prostate cancer can further progress despite this treatment. Prostate cancer that has not spread to other parts of the body and no longer responds to a medical or surgical treatment that lowers testosterone, or ADT, is called non-metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer, or NMCRPC. Men with NMCRPC are at risk for the disease spreading to other parts of the body. Erleada, also known as apalutamide, is a prescription medicine used to treat prostate cancer that has not spread to other parts of the body and no longer responds to a medical or surgical treatment that lowers testosterone.
In a clinical study, the median time men on Erleada lived without their prostate cancer spreading was 40.5 months versus 16.2 months. Erleada is not for use in women. Use birth control during and for 3 months after treatment with Erleada because it can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. Erleada may cause serious side effects, including heart disease, falls and fractures, and possible risk of seizure. Call your doctor right away if you experience chest pains, sudden loss of consciousness, or a seizure, and go to the nearest emergency room if you get chest pain or discomfort. The most common side effects were fatigue, joint pain, rash, decreased appetite, weight loss, high blood pressure, hot flash, and diarrhea. Tell your doctor if you get a rash. These are not all the possible side effects. Tell your doctor about your medical history of heart disease, seizures, stroke, brain injury, or tumor, and all your medical conditions. If you're concerned about your prostate cancer spreading, ask your doctor about Erleada. For more information, please see our ad in Popular Mechanics. Call 1-877-546-3586 or visit www.erleada.com.
Thank you for listening to Radio Health Journal, a production of MediaTrax Communications. If you enjoyed this broadcast, please support our show by subscribing, sharing it with a friend, and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. You can find more Radio Health Journal stories about health, science, and technology on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and RadioHealthJournal.net. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Radio Health Journal.
Coming up next week on Radio Health Journal.
Do parents have authority to make medical decisions for their children? Do states have an authority to do things to the bodies of citizens in the name of public health?
Bridging the vax-anti-vax divide. It's about values rather than science.
Then, affluenza. Does wealth sometimes warp the morals of rich kids?
If your parents are not going to punish you and not letting anybody else give you any consequences, of course you're going to learn that you're above the law.
All that and more on Radio Health Journal.